Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Crypto Philanthropy, your guide to crypto-powered change. My name is Nick Mikulewski, Senior Sales Manager here at The Giving Block. And once again, on my own today, we have a good episode. This week's all about busting some myths, common questions that we get when we're talking to nonprofits about getting into the crypto giving game. So with that, why don't we get started? Taking a look at what we'll cover today. Quick check-in on prices, some good news there. We'll take a look at some of the weekly donation stats, and then we'll start busting some of the biggest myths that we hear about. So a little bit of exciting news. We normally do the $500 in Bitcoin when you get started. For the next month, we've supersized it. It's now $1,000 in Bitcoin when you get started with the Giving Block. Scan the QR code, and if you look at the top right there, it is a limited time from April 15th to May 15th. So get in on our schedules so that you can take advantage of this unique and larger opportunity. And let's take a look at what's going on in the market. Some good news here, a lot more green on the chart, which is fantastic. And we've seen crypto's resilience in the face of some market turbulence. And in some cases, Bitcoin was kind of made for this moment. So the fact that it's, hung around 83, 84, 85,000, like we said last week, is pretty interesting. And of course, the crypto markets in general still, tracking back into positive territory. So again, this isn't exclusively a market-focused podcast, but some interesting trends that we're seeing. Still really elevated levels, which means everybody's, there's certainly a lot of donors still in those heavily tax-advantaged positions to make some donations, which is what we always like to see. Moving on to some of the weekly donation stats, just a few quick things to hit on here. Another 300,000 donated over the last 7 days. We have hundreds of individual transactions going to about 400 charities. So a lot of donation volume that continues to happen here. It was, we're recording this a little bit after tax day here in the United States, so certainly not surprised to see a little bit of an uptick as donors make some of those tax smart giving right before they have to file taxes, and of course Bitcoin still leading the pack. Solana and USDC as the top three, and then XRP and Ethereum rounding out the top 5 assets. So it's just a quick take on what we're seeing, but the quick summation here is that volumes are up, crypto's trending positively, donation activity still remaining high. So with that, why don't we get into some of the most common myths that we hear on calls, from our nonprofit clients when they're thinking about getting into crypto, and a lot of good news, a lot of ways that we can bust some of the most commonly cited myths that we come across. So with that, I've got 10 of these. I'll try to run through these fairly quickly, and that's why I try to make these slides as succinct as I can. So first off, if you're reading here on the screen, this is not a fad. The myth is, this crypto thing, right? It's just sort of like, kind of like a fun gimmicky thing. Again, the crypto giving ecosystem just did another $1 billion year. We expect another potential for $2.5 billion, coming down the pike. So, really the takeaway here is that this isn't going anywhere. This is in millions of, portfolios of donors around the globe. So this isn't something that's going to go away. If you're already, accepting other assets, fantastic. Add on this new lane. And again, it's something that gives you a new avenue, a new lever to pull on, especially if you feel like, your donors have been exhausted through other giving channels. This is a nice new tax advantage way for people to give. So this is no longer a fad. This is something that is here to stay. So let's go on to the next one. Number 2, these are where the big ifs are. And the myth is, but I mean, how much, do people really give in crypto? I mean, how much crypto do they really have? And the reality, if you've read our annual report, is that last year the average crypto gift was nearly $11,000. So this is like taking the power of a stock donation combined with the ease of donating with a credit card. So, again, if you feel like those major donors are getting older, and how do you connect with the next generation of donors? This is the perfect option for doing that. So, sort of said, like, this is building that pipeline. This is building that bridge to the next generation of donors, the next multi-year supporters, before they're in other organizations, CRMs or donor lists. It's a great pipeline building tool to those younger donors. Number three, again, kind of going along that same theme, right? Well, how do we even find these crypto donors? I mean, I don't even know who these crypto donors are. How they're hard to reach. And the reality is, 60% of millennials have crypto, and they're already in your database. It's just that you either haven't asked, or donors just haven't been aware that it's even an option. And for anybody who's had a conversation with me, I say this, all the time. So, these donors want to give, but really they won't if they don't think you're ready, and especially if they don't see it. They're not going to ask the question if they aren't aware that it's an option. So again, this is the moment to build on those Gen Zs and millennial donor loyalty before every other organization catches up, and the trajectory of the orgs that are starting to get into crypto has only accelerated. Every year, there's more and more nonprofits that have a crypto door to donors. So make sure you're putting yours out there as well. All right, number 4, volatility. Crypto's too volatile, right? It's way too volatile for us to even go near. But remember, you're fundraising, you're not trading, right? And an asset that goes up and down all the time is fantastic for creating donation and giving opportunities. If you have an asset that doesn't move at all, it just sits there, it's not a lot of, giving opportunities. And there's a lot of different entry points and exit points with crypto. So again, you're not speculating, you're just unlocking new avenues of giving. And this is a really great way to again, I sort of put that in the last, little bit here. Crypto giving lets you look both bold and bankable to your board. And I think that is a really rare combo. So again, the reality here, we're just converting to cash automatically. This is very similar to just giving stocks, which you're likely been comfortable taking for decades. All right, moving on. Number 5, the criminals. Crypto is mostly used for illegal stuff. Well, it's a lot more traceable than cash. These transactions are happening on, public blockchains that are there for everybody to see. And the way that we sort of flip the script on this is that, this isn't about, crypto is not about threatening, that reputation. In fact, it can actually enhance it. Donors really value transparency, and that is literally what crypto's founding principles are all about. Transparent. It's on the blockchain. It can never be erased. It's there for everybody to see in real time. So when, donors are seeing you embracing some of those more modern traceable tools, it can actually build more trust in your organization, not less. Number 6, the energy usage argument. Bitcoin mining is destroying the planet. We certainly that isn't something that hasn't necessarily been unfounded historically, but the narrative has shifted dramatically. So the reality is that almost 60% of Bitcoin mining is used by renewable energy sources, and it's climbing. And it's climbing because they're actually financially motivated to do that, right? They need the cheapest cost of energy. So they're rolling those profits into green energy infrastructure. It's probably been one of the most, the fastest accelerations in, building out more renewable energy because it's in their financial interest to do so. So again, if you care about sustainability, it's not that crypto uses energy, it's that it's doing it better than outdated systems that we've been using for decades. So you think about the banking system, the process for mining gold, Bitcoin's almost always compared with gold, right? So really the main theme here is that, these next gen donors, care about both climate and innovation. and they're paying attention to those nonprofits that are showing up on both of those issues. So really interesting change in the narrative on the energy and conservation side. And just as a fun fact, energy and conservation groups, one of our fastest growing verticals here in the crypto philanthropy space. Number 7, crypto's not real money. Well, I would say ask any of the organizations that have done millions of dollars and continue to do millions of dollars in crypto giving every single year. So orgs like, Make-A-Wish and Save the Children, really, poster childs for, organizations that have fully embraced the, crypto community. And, the takeaway is that, crypto isn't pretend money. It's real wealth looking for real impact and real world use cases. And if you have a really strong story to tell and a really strong mission, you have such an abundance of, value driven donors out there who would love to support your mission even more than they can with their cash by having a new crypto door to use. All right, moving on. Number 8. Kind of the flip side here, right? I just mentioned Save the Children, Make-A-Wish, American Cancer Society, United Way. These are big organizations. And so sometimes the myth is, yeah, that's great, but it's only really the big orgs that can benefit from crypto because they have the biggest brands, the biggest reach, the biggest budget, the biggest teams. But small orgs are doing crypto, and they're doing it really well. They're raising 6 and 7 figures. I have hundreds of success stories of small nonprofits that have achieved some massive fundraising outcomes, in some cases doubling, tripling their entire annual budget. Imagine what that could do to your organization right now. Or organizations that have seen their grant holes completely filled by the crypto community. Fantastic. So it's not about the size of your organization. It's totally about the mindset. And the ones, again, here that are winning in the crypto ecosystem are the ones, again, with the most open minds, those donate crypto buttons that are featured prominently, and the ones that are posting out to their donors often, so that when those crypto markets shoot up really high, donors know exactly who to go to and which missions they want to support because they're bumping into those messages from those nonprofits all the time. All right. Rounding out the list, number 9, you only got a couple more left. Why not cash? Why can't they just liquidate their crypto and just donate to the cash to us instead? Isn't that just easier? And again, donors want options and they want the tax breaks, right? So the myth is, crypto has no advantage over cash. But the reality is donors avoid capital gains and they get to write off the full amount. Heavily tax advantaged. Finance 101, or donating 101 is where you donate our most appreciated asset, right? Tax 101. Crypto is often our most tax advantaged asset in our portfolio. So just as that term that we hear all the time, meeting donors where they are, that lets you give perhaps the most strategic option for people to give, which is crypto, in their financial portfolio, and feel better about doing it. And some donors are desperately searching for places that take crypto because as they take profits, they need to offset those capital gains. They need to offset their tax bill. Gee, I need to take this, I need to liquidate these crypto profits for whatever I'm going to use that cash for. And I have this hefty tax bill. I would love to make a donation to a nonprofit to completely wipe that out. And finally, number 10, crypto isn't regulated, right? This is like kind of the Wild West. Take a look at the first question on the 1040 in the United States, the main tax form. Crypto is the first question on there. So the IRS, the SEC, ETFs, they're all in play. Thousands of financial institutions are moving into the space. Crypto is playing by the same rules as stocks. As I said before, this is no different than accepting stocks. If you've been comfortable with taking gifts of stock, great. Crypto is the exact same thing. It just moves a lot faster and a lot easier. So Again, it's not about waiting for clarity. The opportunity is there if you're just willing to reach out and turn on a new door for giving. And I think in this climate, everybody's looking for those new ways that they can do more without blowing the budget. The budget's getting trimmed. What else can we be doing? This is an easy flip of the switch to open those doors for donors to give with crypto. So I hope you've enjoyed our, I don't want to call it top 10 myths, but 10 that we hear, from time to time. So if this is something that, I hope you can at least walk away from today's episode knowing that this endeavor is a little less complicated. It's not maybe as dire as you might think, or at least not as risky as you might think. That word crypto always can give people a little sense of trepidation, but the reality is a lot more fruitful than you may think and a lot less complicated. It is way easier than you might be thinking initially. So with that, thanks for joining this week's episode. We will be back next week, and we've got some other exciting guests that are coming down the pike. I know I've said that from the last couple episodes. We're just trying to shuffle the schedule around, but we have some really great organizations that are going to be featured here on the podcast coming up. So make sure you bookmark this, make sure you're subscribed on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week.